This is Gary with MacMost Now. On today's episode, let's look at some Apple travel tips. So today I'm in beautiful Barcelona, and when I travel to places like this, there's usually some equipment that I always bring along. Now, I like to stay in rented apartments, but you may like to stay in hotels. Either way, there's some useful Apple gadgets that you could bring along. For instance, my main gadget, the most expensive one that I bring, in addition to all my, iPhone, iPad, and MacBook, is an Airport Express base station. Now, an Airport Express base station is $100, and it's pretty compact. And the new ones are even smaller, but I'm using the previous generation ones. And I can plug that in and then use that as my Wi-Fi base station. Now, the great thing is when I stay in a place like this apartment, or sometimes when I stay in hotels, I can plug that directly into the Ethernet that they have and create my own Wi-Fi network. Even if a Wi-Fi network is already provided, I can take a small Ethernet cable and plug my base station into the one that they have there. Instead of using their Wi-Fi, I can use my Wi-Fi. Now, there's two main advantages to this. One is security. For instance, I don't know who has the password to the base station that's in this apartment. Or maybe sometimes they're not even protected with a password, so it's just public. And that's not very secure. By plugging my own base station in, I'm using my own Wi-Fi network, which I have secured. Second advantage is I don't have to enter in that password. You see, a lot of times you stay in places and there's this really long password that you have to enter in. Well, I've got my iPhone, my iPad, and my MacBook. That's 3 devices right there. Add in all the devices for my family, and I usually have 7 or 8 devices. So I have to enter in the password for each one of those. Well, I don't have to do that if I'm using my own base station. All these devices are already familiar with that base station, so I plug it in, I plug it into the existing network, and all my devices are instantly online. So it's very convenient as well as more secure. Another gadget I like to bring along is a simple little connector. It's the HDMI connector. You can get the old one for the 30-pin dock connector for the iPad and iPhone, or you can get the new Lightning version of that. Now, what this does is it allows you to hook your iPad or iPhone into a TV. Most TVs for the last several years have HDMI connections. So you also want to bring a small HDMI cable. I usually bring like a 1 meter or 3-foot cable, maybe even something smaller. I've actually got one that's only about 6 inches long, and this allows me to plug in my iPad to a TV. So if I've got some movies on it, or I want to watch some videos, rent some videos on iTunes, it's very convenient, and I can actually watch them on the television, which is great to do when we're relaxing in the evening with your family rather than everybody gathering around an iPad or iPhone. Another thing I bring along is just a small cable to connect my iPhone or iPad to just about any audio device, just a regular mini jack cable. And this allows me to plug in my iPhone in just about any kind of stereo system that I find in a hotel room or place I rent. It also allows me to plug in an iPhone into, say, a rented car. So it's very easy to bring this along and comes in handy all the time. And lastly, the thing I like to bring along is a small extension cord, just a regular extension cord, because sometimes the power outlets in a hotel room or apartment are not where you really want them to be. So bringing along an extension cord allows you to basically move your devices about a little bit easier. It also, of course, helps if the extension cord has 3 connections on the one end, so you can actually plug in 3 devices for that one outlet. Very handy for hotel rooms. And if you're staying in a country that doesn't use the same type of power connector, say here in Barcelona is the Spanish power connector, which is very different than the American one, then I have one simple little power adapter converter, costs a couple dollars. I plug in my extension cord, and now I can plug in an iPhone, iPad, and my MacBook all into one plug using one of those adapters rather than having to carry 3 of them with me. So there's a look at some of the basic gadgets that I bring along with me when I travel. I'd love to hear from you. Comments to this post at MacMost.com to see which little gadgets you find useful while traveling. Till next time, this is Gary with MacMost Now. If you found this video useful, there's one thing you can do for me in return. It won't cost you anything and it'll just take you a few seconds. If you're not already at MacMost.com, go there and then look for the video you just watched and go to that page. Underneath the video you'll see a bunch of different links that help you share the video with friends. Take a second to click the like button. This sends a signal out to the rest of the internet that the video is worth watching. Thanks.